Lisa Carter stood in the center of the massive chamber, surrounded by hundreds of alien beings from across the galaxy. The air hummed with strange sounds as different species talked in their own languages. Some clicked, some buzzed, some made low rumbling sounds that seemed to come from deep in their chests. The smell was odd too, a mix of different atmospheres that each species needed to breathe. She had been humanity's voice in this place for 12 years. 12 years of trying to make these aliens understand humans. 12 years of defending every choice her people made. Today, it would all end. The Galactic Council had made their decision about humans 3 days ago in private meetings. Lisa knew what was coming. The message from Earth had been clear. Accept whatever they decide with dignity. No fighting. No angry words. Just take it and leave quietly. The huge screen above the chamber showed the vote count. Lisa could see the numbers climbing against humanity. Species after species pressed their voting buttons. The Zeltharians voted against humans. So did the Corvan. The hegemony worlds voted against them too. Even species that humans had helped and saved over the years voted to kick them out. Lisa thought about all the times human ships had rushed to help when disasters struck alien worlds. When the plague hit the Sebastian colonies, human doctors had worked for months to find a cure. When pirates attacked the Outer Rim territories, human warships had fought them off. When earthquakes destroyed cities on Altair Prime, human engineers had rebuilt them stronger than before. None of that seemed to matter now. Ambassador Zareth of the Zeltharian Empire stood up at the head of the chamber. His crystal-like skin caught the light and threw rainbow patterns on the walls around him. He was tall, even for his species, and his 4 arms moved in the formal gestures that meant he was about to speak for the whole council. "The vote is complete," Zareth announced. His voice came through the translation system in perfect English, but Lisa could hear the coldness in it. By a count of 847 votes in favor, 3 votes against, the motion passes. The human species is hereby expelled from the Galactic Council. The chamber erupted in sounds. Some aliens cheered. Others made approval noises in their own ways. A few sat quietly, but Lisa could see they were not unhappy with the result. Zareth raised one of his 4 hands for silence. "The charges against humanity are serious and cannot be ignored. Excessive use of force in dealing with conflicts. Breaking the Concordat of non-interference on 17 separate occasions. Endangering civilian populations during military operations. Most recently, the incident at Kepler Station, where human forces destroyed an entire pirate fleet without attempting negotiation first." Lisa wanted to laugh, but she kept her face calm. Negotiation with pirates who had just killed 3,000 innocent people. The Coven had wanted humans to sit down and talk with murderers while more ships full of families were being attacked, but saying that now would not help anyone. "The human species has 30 standard days to remove all presence from space beyond your home system," Zareth continued. "All human colonies, stations, and military installations must be evacuated. Any human vessels found beyond the Sol system after that time will be treated as hostile." Lisa felt eyes on her from all around the chamber. Some aliens looked satisfied. Others seemed curious about how she would react. A few, very few, looked sorry about what was happening. The Andalite delegation looked down at their desks. They had been friends to humanity, but even they had not voted to keep humans in the council. She thought about the speech she had prepared. 3 pages of careful words about friendship and cooperation. About how humans had always tried to do what was right, even when it was hard. About how they had bled and died protecting aliens who were now throwing them out. She had practiced, if for hours, making sure every word was perfect. Instead, Lisa simply nodded once. She gathered the data pads from her desk, put them in her case, and stood up. The chamber fell quiet as hundreds of alien eyes watched her. She walked toward the exit without saying a word. Her footsteps echoed in the sudden silence. Behind her, she could hear the alien starting to talk again, but she did not look back. At the door, she paused for just a moment and glanced over her shoulder at the chamber where she had spent so many years fighting for her people. Then she left, and the great doors closed behind her with a soft sound. On Earth, Admiral Ben Taylor sat in the war room deep under the Pentagon. The walls around him showed screens with information from across human space. Ship positions, colony reports, military status updates. Everything humans had built beyond their home system was displayed here. The message from Lisa had arrived an hour ago, just 5 words. It is done. Protocol 7. Ben looked around the table at the other military leaders. General Patricia Hayes commanded the ground forces. Admiral John Mitchell ran the Space Navy. Director Frank Moore handled intelligence operations. They had all been waiting for this day, even though they had hoped it would never come. "Gentlemen, ladies," Ben said quietly. "Begin the recall." Patricia leaned forward. "All of it, sir?" "Even the deep space stations, everything," Ben confirmed. "Every ship, every station, every piece of equipment more advanced than a farming tool. If we built it, we take it. If we cannot take it, we destroy it." John pulled up a holographic display, showing human space. Red dots marked colonies. Blue dots showed military bases. Green dots were civilian stations and research facilities. There were thousands of them, scattered across hundreds of light years. "The logistics alone will be enormous," John said. "We have over 200 colonies to evacuate. 50 major stations, 15 major shipyards, and that is just the big stuff." "How long?" Ben asked. Frank checked his data pad. "If we push hard and use every available ship, we can do it in 3 weeks. But that means leaving behind anything that cannot be quickly moved." "No," Ben said firmly. "We take it all. Every bolt, every wire, every computer core. I do not want to leave these aliens so much as a screwdriver that they can study and copy." Patricia looked surprised. "Sir, that seems a bit harsh. Many of these species have been our friends." Ben brought up a new display showing the vote count from the council. 847 to 3, Patricia. "Where were our friends when the vote was taken? The Andalites abstained rather than support us. The Sabaceans we saved from plague voted against us. The Talaxians whose children we rescued from slavers could not be bothered to even show up for the vote." The room fell quiet as they all studied the numbers. "We gave them 2 centuries of protection," Ben continued. "We bled for them. We died for them. We shared our technology and our knowledge. And when it came time to stand with us, they threw us away because we fight too hard against their enemies." John nodded slowly. "What about the colonies that want to stay? Some of our people have lived out there for generations." "Their choice," Ben replied. "But if they stay as individuals. No human technology, no human weapons, no human support. They will be on their own, subject to whatever local government takes over." Frank brought up another screen. "Sir, we should also consider that some aliens might try to interfere with the evacuation. If they think we are removing valuable technology ... double quotes. Let them try," Ben said coldly. "We are not members of their council anymore. We do not have to follow their rules. Any alien ship that interferes with our evacuation will be destroyed." The others around the table exchanged glances. They had never heard Ben speak with such cold anger before. "Send the message to all human installations," Ben ordered. "Full evacuation. Silent departure. Bring everything home." As the coded messages went out across human space, the galaxy was about to learn what it meant to lose humanity's protection. They just did not know it yet. Captain Helen Brooks stood on the bridge of the cargo ship Unity, watching as the last transport vessels docked with Sanctuary Station. The massive space station had been humanity's pride for 53 years. It floated in the darkness between star systems, serving as a trading post, refueling station, and safe harbor for human ships traveling the deep space routes. Now it was being stripped bare in just 18 days. "Ma'am, the engineering teams report they have removed the last of the fusion reactors," said Lieutenant Paul Stevens. He was sweating despite the cool air on the bridge. Everyone was working double shifts to meet the evacuation deadline. "The power grid is running on backup batteries only." Helen nodded and checked her status board. Every critical system had been removed from the station. The advanced computers, the weapon systems, the shield generators, even the artificial gravity units. What had taken decades to build was being taken apart in weeks. "What about the hydroponics bays?" she asked. "Gone, ma'am. Dr. Martinez took the last of the growing equipment this morning. Said he could not bear to leave the food production systems for aliens who voted us out." Through the viewports, Helen could see human ships of every size and type. Cargo haulers, passenger transports, military escorts, even converted mining vessels. Pressed into service. All of them loaded with people, equipment, and supplies heading back to Earth. A communication signal came through. Helen recognized the face on the screen as Captain Dave Wilson from the freighter New Hope. "Helen, we have a problem," Dave said. His usually calm expression was tight with stress. "The Altarians are demanding to board my ship. They say they want to inspect our cargo for safety violations." Helen felt her jaw clench. The Altarians had been circling human operations like vultures for days, waiting to claim whatever humans left behind. "What is your cargo, Dave?" "Medical supplies and research data from the hospital complex on level 7. Nothing dangerous, but some of the research is pretty advanced stuff." "Deny their request," Helen said firmly. "We are not subject to their authority anymore. If they try to board, consider it an act of piracy." Dave's eyes widened slightly. "Ma'am, are you sure? That could cause an incident." "Good," Helen replied. "Maybe they need to understand that we are not their subjects anymore." After closing the communication, Helen turned to her weapons officer. "Lieutenant Clark, are our defensive systems ready?" "Yes, ma'am. All weapon systems are charged and ready. We also have the destroyer Fearless standing by if things get ugly." Helen looked out at the alien ships that had been gathering around the station for the past week. Altarian cruisers, Corvan scouts, even some hegemony vessels. All of them waiting to pick over the bones of human civilization in this sector. "Let them come," she said quietly. 3,000 light years away, on the frontier world of New Montana, Sheriff Kate Wilson was dealing with her own problems. The planet had been settled by humans 47 years ago. Rolling grasslands clear. Rivers and wide open spaces that reminded the colonists of old Earth. 12,000 people had built good lives here, raising cattle and growing crops in the rich soil. Now they had to leave it all behind. Kate stood in her office, looking out the window at the main street of Riverside, the planet's only real town. Human families were loading their belongings into trucks and heading to the spaceport. Children cried as they said goodbye to pets they could not take with them. Adults tried to comfort each other while their own hearts were breaking. "Sheriff, we have visitors," said Deputy Ryan Clark. He pointed out the window at a group of insect-like aliens walking down the main street. Corvan, judging by their 6 legs and compound eyes. There were 5 of them, all wearing what looked like official uniforms. Kate had been expecting this. The Corvan Empire controlled the space around New Montana. With humans gone, the planet would fall under their authority. "What do they want, Ryan?" "They say they are here to discuss the orderly transfer of human property and infrastructure." Ryan spat into the wastebasket beside his desk. "Sounds like they want to catalog everything we are leaving behind." Kate put on her hat and checked her sidearm. "Come on, let us go talk to them." The Corvan leader was tall for his species, nearly 6 feet high when standing on his rear legs. His translator box spoke in mechanical English. "I am Administrative Official Klex. I am here to inventory human assets that will remain on this world." "There will not be any," Kate said simply. Klex's compound eyes focused on her. "That is not possible. Your structures, your farming equipment, your power grid, these things cannot be removed." Kate smiled, but it was not a friendly expression. "Watch us." She led the aliens down the main street, pointing out the preparations. The power plant was being dismantled, with all the advanced components loaded onto cargo trucks. The communications array was already gone, taken apart piece by piece. Even the irrigation systems for the farms were being dug up and packed away. "Your medical facility," Kleck said, pointing at the hospital. "Surely you cannot remove an entire building." "The building stays," Kate agreed. "Everything inside it is leaving. Medical equipment, computers, drug manufacturing systems, even the beds. You can have 4 empty walls and a roof." The Corvin made agitated clicking sounds. "This is wasteful. These resources could benefit the local population." "What local population?" Kate asked. "The only people who live here are humans, and we are all leaving. If you want to colonize this world, bring your own stuff." At the spaceport, the scene was organized chaos. Transport ships landed, loaded with people and cargo, and took off again in a continuous cycle. Captain Jerry Martinez supervised the loading of the last group of colonists. Families with everything they could carry, farmers with seeds and tools, doctors with medical supplies. "Sheriff Wilson," Captain Martinez called out as Kate arrived. "We are ready for the final group. That includes you and your deputies." Kate looked back at the town she had protected for 8 years. The empty buildings, the abandoned farms, the life her people had built from nothing. What about the Corvin delegation? "What about them?" Martinez asked. "They are not our problem anymore. They want to stay and take inventory of what we leave behind." Martinez checked his watch. "They have 2 hours before we finish the atmospheric processors. After that, the air in the buildings will not be breathable for humans anymore. If they want to stay and count empty rooms, that is their choice." Kate raised an eyebrow. "The atmospheric processors." "Standard procedure," Martinez said with a slight smile. "When we evacuate a colony, we take all life support equipment with us. The Corvin breathe a different atmosphere than humans. They will need to bring their own air systems if they want to use these buildings." 2 hours later, the last human transport lifted off from New Montana. Kate watched through the viewport as her world fell away below. The Corvin delegation was still on the surface, probably just beginning to understand that humans had taken everything that made the colony work. Back at Sanctuary Station, Helen was watching a similar scene play out on a much larger scale. The massive station that had been a hub of activity for decades was now just an empty shell. No power except emergency batteries. No life support beyond basic air circulation. No weapons, no shields, no advanced technology of any kind. The alien ships that had been waiting so eagerly were now keeping their distance. Whatever they had expected to claim, it was not this hollow structure drifting in space. "Ma'am, incoming message from Admiral Taylor on Earth," Lieutenant Stevens reported. Helen nodded. "Put him through." Admiral Taylor's face appeared on the main screen. Behind him, she could see the organized activity of Earth's Naval Command Center. "Captain Brooks, what is your status?" "Station evacuation is complete, sir. All personnel and equipment are aboard transport vessels. We are ready to begin final departure sequence." "Any interference from local aliens?" Helen glanced at her sensor. "Display showing the alien ships. They tried to board some of our vessels, sir. We convinced them it was not a good idea." "Excellent. Begin your journey home, Captain. You and your people have done good work." As the last human ships departed, Sanctuary Station, Helen felt a mix of sadness and pride. Sadness for what they were leaving behind. Pride in how her people had handled an impossible situation with dignity and strength. The galaxy wanted humans gone? Fine, but they would take everything human with them. Let the aliens figure out how to keep the peace without human protection. Let them learn what they had really lost when they voted to throw humanity away. The exodus was complete. Now the real test would begin. Admiral Chun Vos of the Hegemony Third Fleet stared at the tactical display in his command center. 3 red blips moved across the star map, heading straight for the shipping lanes near Vega Prime. Pirates, the same kind of raiders that had been terrorizing merchant vessels for the past 4 months. "Sir, the merchant convoy is requesting immediate assistance," reported his communications officer. "They have 47 civilian ships loaded with food supplies for the outer colonies." Chun studied the display. The pirate fleet consisted of at least 12 warships, all heavily armed. His own force had 8 ships, but they were designed for exploration and patrol duties, not heavy combat. The pirates had been getting bolder and more aggressive since the humans left. "How long until we can reach the convoy?" Chun asked. 18 hours at maximum speed, sir." Chun closed his eyes. 18 hours. The pirates would hit the convoy, take what they wanted, and disappear into the asteroid fields long before his ships arrived. Just like they had done 6 times in the past 2 months. "Send a message to Council Fleet Command," he ordered. "Request immediate reinforcement for anti-piracy operations in the Vega sector." His aide looked uncomfortable. "Sir, Command says all available forces are already deployed. The nearest fleet with heavy combat ships is stationed at the Corvan border dispute. For 57 years, human patrol fleets had kept these shipping routes safe." Chun remembered complaining to the Council about human excessive force when dealing with pirates. The humans had a simple policy: shoot first, ask questions later. At the time, it had seemed unnecessarily violent. Now Chun understood why humans never bothered with warnings or negotiations. Pirates did not surrender. They did not follow rules. They killed innocent people for profit, and the only language they understood was superior firepower. "Send the convoy a message," Chun said quietly. "Tell them to scatter and run. We cannot reach them in time." 3 star systems away, Governor Malik Torres of the Sebastian colony on Centauri 7 was facing his own crisis. The planet's defense grid was flashing red warnings across every screen in the command center. Ships had appeared at the edge of the system, ships belonging to the Crimson Syndicate. "How many vessels, Commander Blake?" Torres asked. 23 ships, sir, all armed. They are broadcasting demands for tribute payments and access to our labor force." Torres felt his stomach drop. The Crimson Syndicate were slavers. For generations, they had raided frontier worlds, taking people to sell in the illegal markets on the Outer Rim. Human fleets had spent decades hunting them down, destroying their bases and freeing their victims. With humans gone, the slavers were coming back. "What is the status of our defense systems?" Torres asked. Commander Blake looked at his instruments with frustration. "The orbital platforms are operational, but half the weapon systems are offline. The humans installed and maintained all the advanced targeting computers. Without their technical support, we cannot repair the damaged units." Torres walked to the large window overlooking the capital city. Below him, 2 million Sebastians went about their daily lives, unaware that slave ships were approaching their world. These were people who had voted to expel humans from the Galactic Council just 6 months ago. "Can we contact the Council fleet?" Torres asked. "I tried, sir. The nearest Council warships are dealing with the situation at Rigel. They estimate they can respond to our request in 3 weeks. 3 weeks. The slavers would land, take whoever they wanted, and be gone in 3 days." Torres had seen the reports from other worlds that had been hit. Thousands of people taken, families destroyed, Entire communities left broken. "Sir," Commander Blake said quietly, "there is one option. We could send a message directly to Earth. Request assistance from human forces." Torres was quiet for a long moment. His people had voted against humanity. They had supported the Council's decision to throw humans out. Now he was supposed to ask for their help? "No," he said finally. "We made our choice. We will handle this ourselves." But even as he said it, Torres wondered how they possibly could. On the Council homeworld, Councilor Prime Zarith was having the worst month of his long political career. His office was filled with reports of crisis after crisis spreading across the galaxy. Each day brought new disasters, new problems that seemed impossible to solve. "The situation in the Outer Rim continues to deteriorate," reported his aide, Kellic. The young Andalite looked exhausted. He had been working 18-hour days trying to coordinate responses to the growing chaos. Pirate activity has increased by 300%. Slave raids are up 400%. Trade between systems has dropped by 60% because merchants are afraid to travel. Zareth looked at the holographic display showing the galaxy. Red zones marked areas of high pirate activity. Orange zones showed regions with active conflicts between member species. Yellow zones indicated areas with reduced council authority. There was very little green left on the map. "What about our peacekeeping forces?" Zareth asked. "Stretched to the breaking point, sir. We have 47 active crisis situations and only 12 fleet groups to respond. Most of our ships are designed for patrol and inspection duties, not heavy combat operations." Zareth studied the reports on his desk. Border disputes that had been settled for decades were flaring up again. Species that had lived in peace were now arguing over territory and trade rights. Pirates who had been afraid to operate in council space were now conducting raids within sight of major trade routes. "Perhaps," Kellic said carefully, "we should consider reaching out to Earth. The humans have considerable military experience with these types of situations." Zareth's forearms moved in an angry gesture. "Absolutely not. We will not show weakness by crawling back to those violent primitives. They are the reason we have these problems in the first place." Kellic looked confused. "Sir, how do you mean?" "The humans created a culture of violence in our galaxy," Zareth explained. "Their aggressive response to every problem taught others that force was the answer to disputes. Now that they are gone, it will take time for peaceful solutions to take hold again." But even as he said it, Zareth wondered if he truly believed his own words. The reports on his desk told a different story. Without human intervention, the galaxy was not becoming more peaceful. It was becoming more dangerous. On the bridge of the cargo ship Prosperity, Captain Nick Cooper was learning the same lesson the hard way. His ship was carrying medical supplies to a plague-stricken world in the Altair system when pirates appeared. On his sensors, "Captain, 3 ships approaching fast," reported his navigator. "They are not responding to our identification signals." Cooper checked his ship's defensive systems. The Prosperity was a civilian vessel with minimal weapons. Against 3 pirate ships, they would not stand a chance in a fight. "Send a distress call on all frequencies," Cooper ordered. "Request immediate assistance from any council forces in the area." "Sir, I am not picking up any council ships within 6 hours of our position." Cooper thought about the old days when human patrol fleets covered these routes. A distress call would have brought help within minutes. Human warships had been everywhere, keeping the space lanes safe for civilian traffic. "Captain," his communications officer called out, "the pirate ships are demanding we stop and prepare to be boarded." Cooper looked at his crew. 12 good people who just wanted to deliver medicine to 6 civilians. "Do we have any choice?" "Sir, we could try to run. Our engines are pretty fast." Cooper shook his head. "They would catch us and be angry about the chase. That would make things worse for everyone." He opened a channel to the pirate ships. This is Captain Cooper of the merchant vessel Prosperity. We are carrying medical supplies. We will comply with your instructions." As the pirates boarded his ship and took whatever they wanted, Cooper thought about how different things had been when humans patrolled these routes. Pirates had been afraid to operate openly. Merchants could travel safely. The galaxy had seemed like a civilized place. Now, only 6 months after the humans left, everything was falling apart. The Council had wanted to get rid of the violent humans who always solved problems with force. Instead, they had created a galaxy where force was the only thing that mattered, and they no longer had enough of it to protect their own people. The humans had not been the problem, Cooper realized. They had been the solution, and now they were gone. Commander Alex Porter stood on the bridge of the UE's Defiance, watching the tactical display that showed chaos spreading across known space. The ship was one of the newest vessels in Earth's fleet, built during the 2 years since humanity's return to Sol system. Unlike the older ships that had served in galactic space, the Defiance carried weapons and technology that no alien had ever seen. "Sir, we are receiving another distress signal," reported Communications Officer Maria Santos. "That makes 23 this week." Alex studied the message details on his screen. "Source and nature of emergency? Rigel colony, sir. Slavers hit. 3 settlements in the outer system. They are requesting immediate military assistance from any available forces." Alex looked at the star chart, showing Rigel's location. It was deep in what used to be human-protected space, now completely abandoned to whatever forces chose to operate there. "Any Council ships responding?" "Negative, sir. Nearest Council fleet is engaged with border conflicts in the Corvin sector. Estimated response time is 4 weeks. 4 weeks. Alex knew that slavers could hit a dozen more worlds in that time. The Rigel colonists would be long gone, sold in illegal markets on the Outer Rim, before any help arrived. "Signal received and logged," Alex said finally. "Continue monitoring." Maria looked surprised. "Sir, we could reach Rigel in 6 hours. The Defiance could handle any slaver fleet operating in that region." Alex turned away from the display. "We are not members of the Galactic Council, Officer Santos. Their problems are not our problems anymore." But even as he said it, Alex felt the weight of those 23 distress calls. 23 desperate pleas for help that Earth was choosing to ignore. On Earth, President Susan Mitchell sat in the Oval Office, reading intelligence reports that painted a grim picture of galactic affairs. The galaxy beyond Sol system was collapsing into chaos faster than anyone had predicted. "The situation is worse than our most pessimistic projections," reported Intelligence Director Frank Moore. "Pirate activity has increased by 600%. 47 worlds have reported slaver raids in the past month. 3 different wars have broken out between Council member species. The entire Outer Rim is essentially lawless territory now." President Mitchell studied the holographic display showing the galaxy. What had once been orderly, peaceful space under human protection was now a patchwork of conflict zones and criminal territories. "Any requests for assistance from the Council?" she asked. "None, ma'am. Counselor Prime Zareth continues to insist that the Council can handle the situation without human interference. His public statements blame the current crisis on the destabilizing influence of human military culture." General Patricia Hayes leaned forward in her chair. "Ma'am, we have the capability to restore order to those regions within months. Our new fleet is more advanced than anything we had when we served with the Council. We could end the pirate threat, shut down the slave trade, and establish peace in the troubled sectors." President Mitchell was quiet for a long moment. Through her office window, she could see the peaceful streets of Washington. Earth had become an island of stability in a galaxy torn apart by violence and chaos. "What would be the cost?" she asked. "Militarily minimal," General Hayes replied. "Our technology advantage is overwhelming. Politically, it might send the wrong message. If we intervene without being asked, it could look like we are trying to force our way back into galactic affairs. Frank Moore pulled up another report. There is also the question of precedent, ma'am. If we respond to these crises, we become responsible for maintaining galactic peace again. Are we prepared for that commitment? President Mitchell thought about the thousands of distress calls that had reached Earth over the past months. Desperate pleas from worlds under attack, colonies being raided, merchant ships calling for help as pirates closed in. Each one represented real people in real danger. Continue monitoring the situation, she decided. But no direct intervention. Unless formally requested by the Council. They made their choice. They need to live with the consequences. Deep in Council space, the consequences were becoming impossible to ignore. On the mining world of Kepler Prime, Administrator Carl Johnson was watching his worst fears come true. The planet's automated defense systems were failing one by one, and there was no one left who understood how to fix them. "Sir, the orbital platforms have lost primary power," reported Chief Engineer Lisa Park. "The fusion reactors are operating at 12% efficiency and dropping." Carl stared at the technical readouts that might as well have been written in an alien language. The humans who had designed and maintained these systems had taken all their knowledge with them when they left. What remained was advanced technology that no one else understood. "What about the instruction manuals?" Carl asked desperately. "We have them, sir, but they assume a level of technical knowledge that we simply do not possess. The humans never fully shared the theoretical foundations of their technology. We know how to operate their systems, but not how to repair or modify them." Through his office window, Carl could see the mining facilities that had made Kepler Prime one of the richest worlds in the sector. The planet produced rare metals essential for advanced electronics throughout Council space. It was also completely defenseless. "Sir, incoming ships at the edge of the system," announced the sensor operator. "Configuration suggests pirate vessels." Carl felt his heart sink. 3 pirate fleets had already hit nearby mining worlds in the past month. The raiders were getting bolder, targeting more valuable facilities as they realized the Council could not protect them. "Send a priority distress call to Council Fleet Command," Carl ordered. "Sir, I have Fleet Command on the line. They say their nearest available force is the patrol group at Centauri. Estimated arrival time is 9 days. 9 days. The pirates would strip the planet bare and be gone in 3. Carl thought about the 18,000 workers and their families who lived on Kepler Prime, people who had trusted that the Council could protect them. Across the galaxy, similar scenes were playing out on hundreds of worlds. The Altarian trade Federation was losing 3 merchant ships per week to pirates. The Sebacean colonies were organizing refugee convoys as slavers swept through their outer systems. Border disputes that had been settled for decades were erupting into armed conflicts as species fought over resources and territory. In the Council chambers, Councilor Prime Zareth faced angry delegations from across the galaxy. Representatives demanded action, protection, solutions to problems that seemed to grow worse every day. "The hegemony has lost 47 merchant vessels in the past month," declared Ambassador Vix of the Talaxian Republic. "Our trade networks are collapsing. Worlds that depend on imported food are facing starvation. The Outer Rim colonies are being abandoned," added the Andalite representative. "Entire populations are fleeing to the core worlds because they cannot defend themselves against raiders." Zareth looked around the chamber at faces filled with fear and anger. These were the same beings who had cheered when humanity was expelled from the Council. Now they demanded that the Council solve problems that humans had prevented for centuries. "We are doing everything possible," Zareth insisted. "Our peacekeeping forces are deployed across all trouble zones. Additional ships are being commissioned for patrol duties. Your peacekeeping forces are not equipped for major combat operations," Ambassador Vix replied sharply. They are designed for diplomatic missions and minor disputes, not fleet battles with organized pirates. The Coven representative spoke up. Perhaps we should consider a military alliance with one of the major powers. The hegemony has substantial naval forces. The hegemony is dealing with their own piracy problems, Zareth replied. Besides, we cannot appear weak by asking for outside military assistance. We are weak, Ambassador Vic said bluntly. Our military doctrine was built around the assumption that humans would handle major security threats. Without them, we have no effective response to organized violence. Zareth felt the weight of truth in those words. For generations, the Council had focused on diplomacy, trade regulation, and peaceful dispute resolution. They had left military matters to the humans who seemed to enjoy fighting anyway. Now with humans gone, the Council faced threats they had no idea how to handle. We will not crawl back to the humans, Zareth said firmly. They created this culture of violence. We will find peaceful solutions. But even as he spoke, Zareth wondered if peaceful solutions existed for problems like pirate fleets and slave raids. The galaxy was learning a hard lesson about the difference between peace and the absence of war. Peace required strength to maintain it. Without that strength, there was only chaos. Ambassador Lisa Carter stood on the porch of her ranch house in Montana, watching the sunrise paint the mountains gold and orange. 3 years had passed since she walked out of the Galactic Council chambers for the last time. 3 years of peace and quiet, raising horses and enjoying retirement, far from the politics of alien species. The communication device on her kitchen table had been silent for months. Today it was flashing with an urgent priority signal. Lisa picked up the device and activated the holographic display. The face that appeared was older and more tired than she remembered. Counselor Prime Zareth looked like he had aged a decade. In 3 years, Ambassador Carter, Zareth began. His usual proud bearing was gone, replaced by something that looked almost like humility. I speak for the Galactic Council in formally requesting Earth's assistance with the current crisis. Lisa set down her coffee cup and studied the alien leader who had once voted to throw her people out of the galaxy. What kind of assistance, Counselor? Zareth's 4 arms moved in what Lisa recognized as a gesture of supplication. The situation has become unmanageable. Pirate fleets control half the outer rim. Slave raids have increased by 800%. 3 wars are currently being fought between member species. Our peacekeeping forces are completely overwhelmed. That sounds like a council problem, Lisa said calmly. We are formally requesting the restoration of humanity's full council membership, Zareth continued, his voice strained. All previous rights and territories would be returned. We also request immediate deployment of human peacekeeping forces to restore order in the affected sectors. Lisa was quiet for a long moment, watching Zareth's face on the display. She could see the desperation there, the fear of a leader whose civilization was falling apart around him. I am retired, Counselor, she said finally. You will need to make that request through official channels. After ending the communication, Lisa walked back to her porch and sat in her favorite chair. The mountains were peaceful in the morning light. No alien ships, no crisis meetings, no desperate pleas for help. Just quiet and calm. But she knew that peace would not last much longer, on Earth. President Susan Mitchell sat in the Situation room, surrounded by her military and intelligence advisors. The formal request from the Galactic Council had arrived through diplomatic channels 6 hours ago. The document was 12 pages long and filled with legal language, but the basic message was simple. Please come back and save us. What are our options? President Mitchell asked. General Patricia Hayes pulled up a holographic display showing human military capabilities. We have 47 new warships completed, with 15 more under construction, all equipped with technology at least 20 years ahead of anything the aliens have seen. We could restore order to the affected sectors within 6 months. Intelligence Director Frank Moore added his assessment. The galaxy is in complete collapse, ma'am. Without intervention, we estimate that civilized space will shrink by 70% within the next 2 years. Billions of civilians are at risk. President Mitchell studied the reports on her desk. 3 years of monitoring galactic affairs had shown her exactly what happened when humans stopped keeping the peace. The galaxy had learned the hard way that peace was not a natural state of affairs. It had to be built and maintained by those strong enough to defend it. What would be our conditions for returning? She asked. Secretary of State Robert Clark spoke up. Full acknowledgement of the Council's error in expelling us. Guarantee of human autonomy in future peacekeeping operations. And permanent seats on the Council Security Committee with veto power over military decisions. In other words, President Mitchell said, we want to make sure this never happens again. Exactly, ma'am. President Mitchell looked around the room at her advisors. These were good people who had watched 3 years of galactic chaos while Earth remained safe and prosperous. They knew what the right thing to do was, even if it meant taking responsibility for aliens who had thrown them away. Draft our response, she decided. We will consider limited humanitarian interventions on a case-by-case basis. Full reinstatement requires the conditions Secretary Clark outlined, plus formal guarantees of human authority in military matters. 2 days later, the Galactic Council met in emergency session. Counselor Prime Zareth read Earth's response to the assembled representatives. The chamber was quieter than Lisa Carter had ever seen it during her years as ambassador. The humans are demanding significant concessions, declared the Corvin representative. Veto power over military decisions, permanent security seats. This gives them more power than they had before. Because they deserve it, replied Ambassador Vix of the Talaxian Republic. They tried to warn us this would happen. We threw them out anyway. Now we need them back. The Andalite representative stood up. My people have lost 37 colonies to pirates and slavers. We cannot protect ourselves. If humans want guarantees of military authority, give them whatever they ask for. Zareth looked around the chamber at faces filled with exhaustion and fear. These were the survivors of 3 years of chaos. Half the original council members had already withdrawn from galactic affairs, retreating to their home systems for protection. The vote was unanimous for the first time in decades. 1 week later, Captain Helen Brooks stood on the bridge of the UEs of Retribution, flagship of the new human fleet. The massive warship was more advanced than anything Earth had built during their time with the Council. 3 years of isolation had allowed human technology to leap forward without alien oversight. Ma'am, we are receiving surrender signals from the pirate fleet, reported Lieutenant Paul Stevens. Helen looked at the tactical display showing 12 pirate ships dead in space, their weapons and engines destroyed by weapons they had never encountered before. The battle had lasted exactly 17 minutes. Any casualties on our side? Helen asked. None, ma'am. The pirates never got close enough to threaten our shields. Helen opened a communication channel to the disabled pirate ships. This is Captain Brooks of the United Earth Navy. You have 30 seconds to abandon your vessels before we destroy them. Any pirates found operating in this sector after today will be shot on sight. She watched as escape pods launched from the pirate ships. The raiders who had terrorized this region for 3 years were running like scared children. Human warships had returned to galactic space, and the criminals who had flourished during humanity's absence were learning what real military power looked like. Signal from Admiral Taylor, ma'am. Stevens reported. Helen accepted the communication. Admiral Ben Taylor appeared on her screen, speaking from the bridge of his own flagship. Helen, how did the pirates respond to our return? About as expected, sir. 12 ships surrendered without a real fight. Word is spreading that humans are back. Good. We have similar reports from all sectors. Pirate activity has dropped by 90% in areas where our ships have been sighted. Helen smiled grimly. It seems they remember us, sir. Indeed they do. Proceed to the Rigel system. There are slave camps there that need liberating. As the human fleet moved through space that had been lawless for 3 years, word of their return spread faster than their ships could travel. Pirates, who had grown bold during humanity's absence, suddenly remembered why they had been afraid before. Slavers who had operated openly began retreating to the Deep Rim territories. Even the wars between council species began to quiet down as the combatants realized that human peacekeepers were coming. The galaxy was learning that civilization was not maintained by good intentions or diplomatic agreements. It was maintained by those willing and able to fight for it. The Galactic Council had thrown away their guardians and paid the price in blood and chaos. Now the guardians had returned, stronger than ever. They came not for gratitude or recognition, but because someone had to stand between the darkness and the light. After all, that was what humans did. The silence was over. The galaxy would never forget again.